yet again with Dr. Doshi, PhD in Environmental Sciences. Once again, Dr. Doshi, thank you so much for being here today.
It is an honor.
And now, in our previous segment, Dr. Doshi briefed us about what ocean acidification is and carbon capture technology, which is one of the most important technologies that is being used to combat ocean acidification today. Now, Dr. Doshi, could you please tell us about another technology that's being used against ocean acidification?
Definitely. This argument is one that is often debated but is extremely necessary, and this is the usage of renewable energy sources. Highlighting an analysis from an organization, a representative from the International Renewable Energy Agency said that renewable energy is the most cost-effective way of providing 90% of the required reduction in energy-related carbon dioxide emissions. And according to me, that is a phenomenal number. However, there are many factors that make it difficult to implement. So let's take, for example, solar power production. Solar power production can be done in two ways, using active devices and passive devices. Active devices are basically like pipes that heat up directly from the incident solar energy from the sun. Now, this solar energy causes the water temperature in the pipes to rise and therefore converts solar energy into thermal energy, generating steam. Steam is used to drive the turbines that are connected to a generator and therefore generating electricity. Passive devices have photovoltaic cells that convert incident solar energy into potential difference using a semiconductor and thus directly converting it into electrical energy. Now, although it is only 24 to 30% efficient and changes in weather can often affect its output, a very important thing is that it does not produce any greenhouse gases. Nuclear power production is another very useful process, another very useful example. The element U-235 is what we require for it. However, we only have naturally occurring U-238, which yields merely 0.7% of U-235. But using a fuel enrichment process, and other chemical processes, the concentration of U-235 is increased to 3.5%. Then, using a nuclear process called induced fission, there is a chain reaction that generates an immense amount of energy. Now, this process happens underwater, and when energy is generated, it is converted to kinetic energy that is gained by the water. This heats up the water, producing steam, which turns the turbines, which are connected to a generator. Now, although it is expensive to build, and in rare cases it can be extremely dangerous to stop, it produces a large amount of energy and therefore has a high energy density. Also, it does not cause much pollution. And like this, there are many other energy processes that we could use to reduce our carbon production in the atmosphere.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Doshi. I have one final question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Doshi, what can we, on an individual level, do to help reduce our carbon footprint?
As an individual, there are several things we can do. Firstly, one of the most overused lines, reduce, reuse, recycle. However overused, it is an extremely important policy that one must keep in mind. To reduce your carbon footprint, it is one of the best things we could do. And other than that, wherever possible, walk, cycle, and use public transports to your destination rather than using cars. I mean, just limiting your meat consumption can make a huge difference. Greenhouse gas emissions from agribusinesses are an even bigger problem than fossil fuels. You might be surprised to learn that all electronics suck energy even when they're plugged in, although they're powered down. In the US alone, Vampire Power is responsible for draining up to $19 billion in energy every year. I mean, can you imagine that? Anytime a cord is plugged into a socket, it's drawing energy. So although your device isn't charging, you're still contributing to your carbon footprint. Simple solution, just leave your electronics unplugged at all times, unless you're actually using them. One dryer load uses 5 times more electricity than washing. And by simply line drying your clothes, you can save 1/3 of your carbon footprint.
Wow, that was extremely informative, especially the part about the vampire power. Thank you so much, Dr. Doshi, for this informative session with us today. We will now
Thank you for having me here once again.
We will now be taking another commercial break, and unfortunately, that's all the time we have today for Dr. Doshi and his expertise. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Doshi. We'll be back
Thank you.
after this next commercial break.
Co-powered by Carbon Cloud for a better future.
Good evening, viewers. Joining us today from his home at Nepensi Road is Dr. Parth Doshi, PhD in Environmental Sciences. Dr. Doshi, it is an honor to have you.
Thank you for having me here.
Dr. Doshi, you've come here to talk about ocean acidification. Could you please inform our viewers about what that is?
Sure. So ocean acidification occurs due to dissolving of carbon dioxide in the air in ocean water. Carbon dioxide dissolves in water to create a weak acid called carbonic acid. And this acid can be quite harmful to marine life and has enormous implications for ecosystems like coral reefs.
Wow, that is extremely alarming. Have scientists found any solutions for this problem so far?
Um, yeah, actually, scientists have been working on developing technologies to reduce ocean acidification for years now. One of the most prominent ones is carbon capture and storage. So it's also known as CCS. This technology can capture approximately 80% of all carbon dioxide emissions produced in the industries.
That is an incredible achievement. Can you please tell us a little bit more about this technology?
Yes, definitely. So basically what happens is this has three processes or has three parts. Firstly, what happens is you capture the CO2, then transport it, and then safely store it in depleted oil or gas fields. So capture technologies separate the carbon dioxide from other gases released during industrial processes. And this can be done in three different ways. The first is pre-combustion capture. Now, this involves the conversion of fuel to hydrogen and carbon dioxide using reformation of gases. The hydrogen is used to fuel electricity production while the carbon dioxide is then captured. So the second part is now post-combustion capture. In this, carbon capture is obtained from the exhaust of a combustion process as it is absorbed by a solvent. Now what happens is there's a final oxy-fuel combustion system. Now here, the oxygen required is separated prior to the combustion. The fuel burns in oxygen diluted with flue gas rather than by air. So the byproducts are predominantly carbon dioxide and water. Hence, the carbon dioxide is more concentrated in one stream, which makes the purification much simpler. So now the transportation for the process is much simpler and is cheaper. The captured carbon dioxide must be transported by a pipeline, and this technology requires the pipeline transportation, which is widely available because it's the same one that is required for the transportation of natural gas, oil, all around the world. In certain cases, pre-existing and redundant pipelines can be used, reducing costs and enabling a smooth transition to the widespread utilization of this technology. So finally, the storage requires tremendous amounts of research and equipment in order to inject the carbon dioxide under high pressures beneath an impermeable geological layer known as a cap rock. So now, despite its high cost, this storage can retain over 99% of the carbon dioxide stored over 100 years. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Dr. Doshi, we can still hear you. Do carry on.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So moreover, there are numerous projects that have dealt with injecting carbon dioxide deep underground for storage. Hence, its implementation will not be an issue.
All right, Dr. Doshi, thank you so much for that incredible explanation of carbon capture and storage technologies. We have to take a short break, but don't you go away. We will be back with Dr. Doshi to talk about more solutions for ocean acidification in a few minutes.
Definitely.